but there's like several ways to press record, and AI is not. So now it's actually recording to the cloud. But we
Yeah.
have some heavy hitters coming on tonight. No, we got
Hmm.
Ethos coming on. We have Corey Jackson coming. Um, really, I thought I saw Dr. Felicia Dawson in the room, and let me make myself co-host because I'm
I,
Ra is also in the background.
I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself. So if anybody else wants to talk, they're good. But thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me, girl.
Buzz buzz. Okay, howdy y'all. Buzz buzz. How we
Miss Price.
doing? Oh, Brooke, were you saying something?
I said, "What's up, Miss Price? How you doing, Jodeci? How you
Um,
buying?
oh man. Well, I am getting things done one at a time. How are you?
Doing good. How's those dogs that you've been walking?"
Oh man, my dog business is starting to blow up. It's actually going really well, and our services are really starting to kick back in as far as emotional support. So I'm really happy because that's what brought Jade money in the first place, and the honey was just the icing on the tea. So, or I guess the sugar for the tea. Oh!
Right. I mean, how many days did it take you to pick all those bees out of your hair?
Oh my gosh, I love the bees in my hair. So I know Eric Foster is not a fan of bees, but I love them. There's a lot of studies with bees and the helping with PTSD, and it
The
makes
buzzing in
you.
the ears.
Yes, but also like being present with the bees makes you very calm, cool, and collected as you have to move a certain way. You have to stay level grounded. You shouldn't move too fast, but also not too slow in beekeeping. So a lot of beekeeping pours into entrepreneurship and it pours into lifestyle maintenance, if that makes sense. And there's a lot to learn. Every beekeeper is different. So now I'm a beekeeper. I'm not certified yet. I have to be in a program for a year as far as beekeeping, but I'll have a variety of honey. So I'll have wildflower honey, which really helps my brand. And I'm in the pivot. So I'm no longer going to be infusing hemp with honey. So I used to have CBG infused Manuka honey. Um, but in Georgia, it is so hard, as well as the new hemp regulations. While I was in Vegas, I was able to label it as a dietary supplement, but now it would be considered a food source. So I'm not even going down that route. I'm cool with it. I'll just advocate and do HR for the cannabis industry. So I'm not worried. I love the pivot. But I do think that what I would like to do with bees as far as cannabis is install beehives on different farms, give the farmers, gift them honey, and then now bees don't pollinate hemp or cannabis. However, they do use, because they're both wind pollinated, but they do use hemp as a source of food. And right now, there's a huge decline, like 70% of bees, honeybees that are just falling off and dying. And a lot of that is due, in my opinion, due to the pesticides. For example, one of the laws that just passed here in Georgia is that larger companies are no longer responsible for putting labels, cautionary labels on pesticides saying that they can cause issues, right? Unless they have proof. So, neocide, for example, or PFAS or glyphosate, those are some of the largest chemicals that are hurting our gut and microbiome. However, that's no longer required by the state of Georgia for these companies to say, hey, these are some possible risk factors. So, long story short, we're getting with the bees, hemp can be a source of food for them if they don't have any trees or flowers with nectar, so, or with pollen to produce nectar. So that was long-winded, but but it's all relevant, and I hope you guys learned. Buzz, welcome
Listen,
in,
I know I
everyone.
did.
Good. I'm glad you did. Welcome in, everyone. We're just going to hold off on a couple more minutes and let some more people trickle in. We have about almost 20 of us on the call, which is so great. But if you don't see any of your friends on, make sure you invite them, send them on, send them the link, and so we can get started. Just give us about 3 more minutes. I usually have music going. But for tonight, my bandwidth is low on my computer. Technology rules the world right now, or forever, I guess. So bear with us. And I just love seeing all of your lovely faces. We have Caleb in the house, Caleb, Gretchen, Buzz, Gretchen, Mecca. We have Antoine, one of our contributing guest speakers. Love to see you, brother. We have my sister Quadria on. Marissa, love what you're doing out in the 2 states that you're in, Virginia and Maryland. So nice to see you. Tim, it's nice to have you on. We'll get started here in a couple minutes. If I miss somebody, I am so sorry. I don't mean, Miss Deborah Johnson's on. Oh, Coach is on. Nice to see you, Coach. Corey Jackson. Nice to have you all on. Give us about a couple more minutes and we'll get started. But for right now, make sure that in the chat you're putting your name, who you are, sharing your social media links, your LinkedIn, sharing any big wins. And we'll get started in a couple minutes. Thank you. And while we're waiting, I'm going to, if you haven't already checked out our newsletter, I'm going to put that in the chat. It's going to be under Roz's name, so if you haven't read our 420 newsletter, please, and I have some announcements about that. I'm going to give you guys another extension for that, and I'll create another one. But also, I don't need to send that one because NCI is there. But there's a wealth of information and announcements in our newsletter. So if you're not subscribed, once you click that link, there's a little button at the top that says subscribe and it says past issues. So you can easily subscribe there, or you can head over to our website and join the newsletter from there. So it is 7:09. I'll give us 1 more minute to get some more people on. And then we'll get this conversation going. And we're recording, so that's really great because I often forget to record as I wear so many hats. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Tonight we'll be having some heavy hitters in the room. I named several of the heavy hitters already, so I'm just so grateful for your participation. And tonight's conversation, tonight's conversation is going to be about action and not just conversation. Let me let this other person in the room, give me a second here. But what I was saying was tonight's conversation is truly about taking action, not just conversation. M4MM we've been in these rooms, right? And we have been celebrating 9 years of advocacy and impact this year, which is a huge win, 9 years. I mean, especially in the cannabis space. So I want to encourage you all again to click the link to our newsletter, to subscribe. It comes out once a month where we share information and announcements on what's happening nationally and locally. This is an important resource for you to use as well as to get involved in. So I want to remind you and re-invite you to submit your 420 events to me by the end of the day tomorrow. Our April newsletter highlighted 420 events. Give me a second. Let me let this next person in. Bobby Burks. Oh, Junior, buzz, Bobby Burks. Our April newsletter did highlight the 420 events happening around, but our intention for that newsletter was to highlight events coming from our community, our family. So I want to create another 420 campaign that shares what our community has going on during 420. And really, that's the purpose of our newsletters and our membership meetings. We want our intention is to connect, it's to engage, it's to support one another. So with that being said, again, please, if you have a 420 event, send it to me by the end of the day tomorrow so I can get out another newsletter for the month. Next week I will be out of town, so if something comes in after tomorrow, I won't be able to see it. Let me let this next person in. Sorry, y'all. I need a helping hand. Again, with those just joining us, welcome, Buzz. Please drop your information in the chat, drop your LinkedIn, your social media, because it's so important for us to build relationships with one another. Before we get into our discussion, please make sure also that you are submitting your application to be an MJ BizCon speaker. So it does close April 11th. Let me drop that in the chat as well. Give me a second while I get that going. And this is for people who really are ready to get out there and get their voice heard. I feel like oftentimes we don't get to see many of us. Oh man, why did I do that? Oftentimes we don't get the opportunity to see us on the stage, and this is a grand opportunity. They also pay for your room, for your stay as a speaker, and it really allows that diversity to come into the room. So please, I'll find that link. For some reason, it went a little wonky, but it's also in our newsletter. So it does close April 11th, okay?
I appreciate that heads up. I sure forgot. I need to get an application submitted.
Yes. Y'all, we have been in these rooms. We have talked our heads off to so many people. We've shaken so many hands. We've made lots of connections, but we belong in them too. We belong on those stages. And that's the same with tonight's conversation, our centering conversation, our on advocacy in cannabis and hemp. And not only that, just the livelihood of being a human being and making change. There are so many people coming in right now.
Yeah, yeah. You want to give me co-hosting rights so I can help out?
Oh, I would
With
love
getting them
that. Thank you. Let me do that.
Yeah,
Oh,
let me help out. Let me work. Let me work.
please, because honey, I cannot
Jodeci,
do it
I
all.
just texted you. I was like, do you want me to send
Girl, I
people?
cannot see those text messages. Let me
Okay, all right.
let me make Antoine my little right hand for tonight. And excuse me, y'all. Antoine, where's your name? Here we go. More make co-host. Thank you so much.
No problem. No problem. I got you.
Oh, so grateful. So this month, actually March, yeah, over in March, we had a really awesome opportunity for M4MM in different states to advocate. We had we were out at the Georgia State Capitol, where spearheaded by our very own Coach Harris and Representative Eric Bell, Mary Powell was in the room, Dr. Roz McCarthy, our very own CEO and founder. She was given a proclamation for her advocacy efforts. So they were able to do their lobby days out this month. And then in Ohio, we had some cannabis engagement out there at the Capitol. Ashton, who you'll be hearing from as well, alongside Coach and Antoine tonight. Ashton was representing Ohio and did a phenomenal job and came out with some really great feedback that we'll get into here in a little bit. I can't spill all the tea yet. And also Canna Coverage. They attended the New Jersey Medical Cannabis Lobby Days out in New Jersey. I'm not sure if they're on tonight, but these are, again, the rooms that we have been in, and you belong there too. In Georgia, shout out to Coach for bringing me out to Georgia. He says, in Georgia, we say it's the people's building. And that's true for all of our states. We have to get in the game and we have to actively participate, especially in these critical times where uncertainty is for not only our industry, but for our livelihood. So again, I want to encourage you all just to be open-minded for tonight and take notes for tonight and connect with each other, because we can go further together versus going alone. So for tonight's speaker, we want to welcome Eric Foster, who is our National Policy Director. He's the lobbyist with Banks and Company and a co-founder of the Future Today and Tomorrow Super PAC. And he's going to lead us into the understanding of state policy landscape, even on a national level, building relationships with lawmakers, as well as review some policy and talk about some policy ask as it pertains to social equity, cannabis, and hemp, which is important because we are in a crisis seeing DEI vanish. Eric, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, as well as speaking on behalf of our entire industry and organization, just expressing our gratitude for your unwavering commitment and your service to this industry. You've created policy playbooks, you've shaken hands with more than I can remember lawmakers, and you've placed actionable and realistic steps to progressing policy in cannabis and hemp. Although our brothers and sisters, we may not, all see the same pathway, but you've really created pragmatic approaches to building this industry with diversity and inclusion. So Eric, thank you so much for joining us tonight and really bringing your wisdom to us tonight. We'd really love to understand from your point of view, the state to state policy. I know you and I have had conversations in the back end, and really I love the slogan, ballot initiatives won't save you. But and so it's so important that you're on with us for tonight. So I'll mute myself. I do have a few questions to moderate and move in the conversation, but I'd love to welcome you to the stage, have you introduce yourself, and get us started, kick us off for tonight. Thank you so much.
Oh, good evening, everybody. Eric Foster here, longtime listener, 10th time calling. I'm gonna try to make sure that I get through my rip before a Jim Rohn comes in and throws me off the show. That being said, I am glad to be here. Look, guys, we are in a world that is the upside down world. A lot of times I wonder, are we in Earth 616 or Earth 838 with the Doctor Strange that killed Thanos by himself with the Darkhold? Or are we in one of the crisis Earths from the DC Arrowverse, which was really good before they cut out Superman and Lois and put them on an alternate Earth that really messed up the whole thing for me? That being said, we have to accept where we are, which is we are not in a good place as an industry, both on the cannabis side and on the hemp side. And we're not going to see salvation coming from the regime that's in control of the White House, from the Congress that we have, or through any of the court cases that are making it through with respect to the Canna Provisions, the Garland, or any of the other ones that are working through to try to render the Dormant Commerce Clause mute or to get judicial action to legalize the industry. In effect, we have to save ourselves. And so part of saving yourself is understanding who are the people in the game that you deal with. And as Jodeci mentioned, yes, statewide ballot initiatives won't save you. What will save you is, and I'll talk about that at the greater end, is changing who's the electeds. That's the critical point. Fire people who are against you, hire people that are for you. But let's go state by state. So right now, every state in the United States, hemp as a commodity is legal, but within the hemp family, there are different relatives, some that are legal, some that are being put in supermax prison, some that are on work release in the halfway house, and some that are on the run fugitives and the police is out there looking for them. So what you want to do to understand the hemp side and the cannabis side and understanding your state's policy landscape, that's the first topic Jodeci asked me to hit on, is start with the agency in your state government who regulates hemp and who regulates cannabis. So in the 38 states that regulate cannabis, you have either a cannabis control, a cannabis administration, a cannabis regulatory, a marijuana control. Those are kind of like the acronym names. You can go to the organization CANRA if you want to get a list of all of the names of the agencies, because fortunately, every agency for the states, DC, and the territories, the US Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, are listed there. So that way you can at least get the names and links to a lot of their websites. On the hemp side, you're going to start with hemp whichever your state's agriculture department or possibly environmental department, but primarily it'll be the ag department for your state government. And you want to, in both cases, so that you understand the rules of the game before you start playing, think of it as if you are a drafted into the NBA, you came out of college, 40-minute game versus 48-minute game, 21.9 from the 3-point line versus 23.9 from the 3-point line. Learn the rules before you go out and lace up for your first preseason game. So that way you don't take 2-point shots that you think are 3-point shots. Those rules are critical, understanding the laws. And so you're going to want to start when you go to those websites, you're going to want to go first to the law section, the rules and regulations, to understand what the laws are and understand what the rules are. The rules are written after the law is passed, either by voter referendum or by the state legislature. And the regs are what is developed by the agency that's in charge of implementing it. Now, fortunately, every year when new legislation passes in the state legislative bodies, the House and the Senate, except for Nebraska, which is unicameral, only has one chamber, which they call the state Senate, you then can, they will update within that section, usually on an annual basis or sometimes on a monthly basis or quarterly basis, depending on the agency. They'll update legislation that's been introduced that relates to cannabis, relates to hemp, if it's passed, because if it passes, then that means that the statutory law is going to change. Either something will get taken off or something will be added to the process. Okay. So law is never static. Law is always fluid and always will change. It's a contract. It can always be amended. It can also possibly be canceled, as we understand in Montana. For those who might be listening from Montana way, there are anti-cannabis groups who are trying to organize a ballot initiative to get on the ballot to repeal the adult use and the medical programs in the state of Montana. So also, just because a law has been passed doesn't mean it can't be revoked or terminated either by legislative body or in some instances repealed by voter referendum, depending on the rules of your state. So understanding the law is critical. Now I'm going to stop for a second because I hate it when I'm monologuing, because monologuing is, I love hearing my own voice, but damn, monologuing get a little boring. I always like interaction and communication. Does this first part, understanding the rules, where to go get the rules, and reading the rules. Oh, let me give you one last point on reading the rules before I shut up. You're going to want to focus on a few key things when you read the statutory law for both the hemp side at the state level and the cannabis side. You're going to want to read the rules on licensing, because that'll tell you what are the license types. If the state has a cap on the licenses, what are the requirements to get a license? So that gives you your playing field there. Then, if you are on the vendor side, you'll want to look to see if there's any statutory language regarding supplier and vendor programming. Those are things that help the supply chain get formally structured in the state, where the state is taking an active role to help with the supply chain, because not everybody is a licensee. Us at Banks and Company, we are a vendor. I'm also board chair at Candace Capital Holdings. We're a insurance and fintech vendor. So not everybody's going to be a licensee. That's cool. Then you're going to want to look at any language around the broad category of economic inclusion. So that includes social equity, but that also includes diversity, that includes disadvantaged community, disproportionately impacted, justice impacted, criminally impacted, basically anything except for if you are in the Legion of Doom, they will be excluded from getting licensing. But outside of that, in that framework, you'll have broad categories or sometimes narrow categories that talk about how do we help communities get licensing and other supports. So you'll want to pull that information. You'll want to look at that information to understand if you fall in the category, what does that mean for you? And does it help you or not in terms of getting a license? You're going to also want to look to see if there are local controls, so municipal or local government. That section will tell you if the local communities in your state have their own protected regulatory authority to regulate businesses, because depending on the state, some states, the state government will take away the ability for the local government to regulate the industry within its borders. Some states, they will leave it alone and say it's up to the municipality as long as they don't create any laws that are onerous and burdensome. In that case, that's good because that creates another layer of opportunity for crafting economic inclusion, social and diversity in licensing, supplier diversity, community benefits, and good neighbor programs, hiring from local and targeted communities. So it gives you an extra tool to try to achieve efforts to diversify and make sure that the cannabis and hemp dollars are flowing to everybody in a opportune basis. You're also going to want to look to anything on medical research. Does your state have any programs or structure in the law that governs and supports medical research? This is critical because here's the reality. Y'all ever watch the movie Sybil?
Yes.
Okay. So Sybil had a boatload of damn personalities. Sybil was, as my grandma Foster would say, she was from the rooter to the tutor to the pillar to the post. Well, that is the dynamic of where we kind of are as an industry. Are we a pharmaceutical drug? Are we a medicine? Are we a plant? Are we like alcohol and tobacco? Are we like Free Willy from the movie Free Willy? Who are we? Well, in reality, we are a pharmaceutical medication who has desires to also have an independent adult use lane that is over the counter, but not necessarily regulated like over the counter medicine. Medical research is important to help define what we are. So then, as a part of both the federal argument and then the state argument, you can dispel crap. But also, and I say this as somebody who only used once on my 21st birthday, it was on my bucket list. I did my 2 puffs, I passed, and I was good. but I've seen the benefits of how this helps people. You want to ensure that we can create cannabis that can treat specific health ailments and improve health outcomes. I believe it can, and that is a personal objective of mine, to improve health outcomes for people through what we're doing. Then another thing you're going to look at is banking and capital access. So some states like Maryland, Illinois, Virginia, Connecticut, New York have statutory language that governs the ability for the state to create state-backed lending and capital access programs. In Maryland, for example, their program, they're creating a loan reserve for financial institutions to partner with the state to provide lending. The state will back the lending up to $1 million for cultivators, up to 500,000 for retail outlets, kind of like what the SBA does, but it's state backed. Illinois has a blended model, but also in Illinois, banks can get access to deposits from the state for offering services to marijuana related businesses through their Community Invest Illinois Cannabis Banking Service Program. If we're going to get access to debt capital, which is important for the industry, it's going to have to be states that do this. That is critical, because while playing around hoping, we can get the federal government to accept our offer to take her to the prom, which she ain't accepting anytime soon, we need to take the girl who wants to go with us, and that is the state governments, and have fun with the state governments.
Now,
So now I'm going to stop, but those are some key sections you want to look for in your state laws when you pull them.
Now, Eric, my question, just to follow up to that, and thank you so much. That was great information. You really broke it down well. I'll just to recap, start at your state agency. You can find those on Canra. If you CANNRA, if you look them up on Google, you'll find them. To get all of the agencies' names list, and then that's specifically for cannabis. And then with hemp, look into your ag department or your environmental, I'm sorry, did you call it environmental?
Environmental regulatory
Okay.
agency at
Environmental
a state level.
regulatory agency for at the state level, being cognizant, learning the rules and regulations of as well as the laws, which also helps our compliance piece as business owners, to help mitigate with risk and any of that. Um, and understanding that laws can be amended or revoked through voters and so on and so forth. But really where our focus should be is licensing types, caps, requirements, supply chain or supplier and vendor programming, econ inclusion, I'm sorry, local government.
Municipal
Thank
law,
you.
municipal
It's
governments.
it's the U's and the N's, I'm bilingual. And then medical research and banking capital access. Now, I'll be honest, so for someone like me, and there may be others in this room, that seems a little bit overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh, how do I do all of this? And how will I understand and digest all of this? So for someone who may be like me, and needs help in understanding some of the language that might be in the bills, or even taking all these steps, which does take a long time, what are some uh tips and pieces of advice for somebody brand new in the game, or maybe just starting out in researching these areas?
So one thing is, on our side, we're putting together, I've got some of those sections of different state laws into guidance docs so people can see, but we'll be continuing to work on those and update those and publish those so people can come and get both summary information as well as the detailed information and
Okay.
how it relates. Talk to people. Talk to people who are experts. So if you're trying to start off as a business If you want to pursue a license in this industry, either cannabis or hemp, and you're not talking to people, you're closing before you even have got open. So you're going to need to talk to people who can help you. Joining organizations like M4MM, where we have events like this, where we can walk through, and in other sessions or workshops or trainings, we can help people understand how to understand the rules and laws in their state so they can function. That is important. There are other organizations as well that specialize, from the Black Cannabis Lawyers Association, there's accounting associations, there's trade groups. So there are a number of different stakeholders where you can get additional information to help fill in the blanks. And you're going to have to, because if you want to be a licensee, you're going to have to. Y'all ain't got a dark hole and can go Doctor Strange or Thanos. You need the full Avengers team organized and together to be
Well,
able to fight Thanos, or now Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom coming back, which is going to be interesting because that's going to cause some emotional conflict for some people, especially Spider-Man, Thor, and the Hulk.
Eric, Eric, your analogies, I love them. No, but that leads me into the next great question. And I know we have two other hands up. We have Bobby Burks Jr. and then Marissa. Their hands are up. But that leads me into our next question, which is, can you give us an example of a relationship that started simple but led to meaningful policy progress? I mentioned earlier you've shaken probably hundreds of hands by now when it comes to cannabis and hemp policy over the last couple of years that I've known you. So can you share an example of that relationship, and then we'll move into some questions?
Okay, so I want to give it in this context. Shaking hands is meaningless if you don't have two things before you even meet the person:
Mm,
background research, where you've analyzed and studied that person, this governmental interaction, be it if it's the regulatory agency or if it's the legislators, federal, state, and municipal. They are like consumers, and they have a buying profile of how they make decisions. And you have to move them through the buying rationale: identification, acceptance, selection of your issue, and then retention, so that they stay with your issue all the way through. And some people have different behavioral personalities, characteristics. So you're going to want to study them. You're going to want to look at their bios. You're going to look at their voting history, see some of the speeches that they've given or when they participate in the committees, see who are the leaders, who are the influencers, who are the rest, and work through and pre-plan your engagement. So by the time you get to them, it's part of a strategy, because that one conversation is not going to move the needle.
right.
So now, once you've done the research and you've met them, then you're going to start working that relationship. And so I'll say, from my end, before becoming an active part of M4MM's leadership team, just being in my work at Banks and Company, cannabis licensees hired us for helping them go through the process, but also to lobby state and local law. As a lobbyist on behalf of licensees, we were able to get 32 municipalities to adopt recommended language that we developed for ordinances that helped create a level, positive playing field, but met the balance for the governmental interest, the community interest, the licensee interest, diversity and inclusion, and stayed within the four corners of the Dormant Commerce Clause so they would survive lawsuits. And so an example of that was, we had clients that wanted to get into the Grand Rapids market. And so Grand Rapids, 6 city commissioners, city council members, a mayor, and then a city manager. But then also city attorney, Economic Development Department, Planning Department, Planning Commission. Working through and building relationships with each one of the members. I spent probably 3 days a week in Grand Rapids from 2018 through 2020 before the pandemic hit, hanging out, talking with, meeting, communicating, sharing information, working with the officials, coming to the commission meetings, feeding them up with language, getting their cell phone numbers, texting them while they were in the committee hearings or when they were in full session to give them information to help steer the conversation. Building that relationship and working through the different dynamics to get them to adopt the first, on the medical side, an ordinance that was structured to help our minority clients, was incentivizing for our white clients to engage in positive economic inclusionary activities that they wanted to do, didn't preclude anybody else from participating, but gave you preference if at least 25% of your ownership were local residents who were part of your state license application, not just your local.
Sure.
Giving 30% procurement goals from local businesses in the city of Grand Rapids, hiring a minimum amount of full-time employees and providing them benefits with that, entering into and having to go through a good neighbor program process of meeting with community organizations, entering into partnerships and agreements. That became something that met what our clients were looking for. It met what the city needed, and it created the first local level social equity and economic inclusion environment for licensees. Now, some of the corporate companies didn't like that because they were like, oh, well, we don't have any local ownership and we're not going to try to. Well, you weren't precluded. You just didn't get to the planning commission before somebody who did. Now, if the
But
planning commission didn't, it's all about fairness, because if the
it's all
planning
about
commission,
fairness and creating a level playing field. It might not make everyone happy, but not everyone is going to be happy. Hold that thought, Eric. I know Gretchen had something to share as well, and she's been a wonderful resource to M4MM too. So I want to make sure that I get her comments on this as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Jodeci. I just wanted to hop in, and I totally agree with you, Eric, on that you have to create relationships. But I think the number one hurdle for anyone in this industry, and I live in DC and I talk to these jokers every day, especially coming from cannabis, you have to prove that you are credible. They are going to look at you like you are a criminal. They're going to think that, what are you doing in this industry? You shouldn't be here. I don't care about fixing your laws because you're all criminals to begin with. You have to point out to them that you are business owners, that you have employees, that you pay your taxes, that you follow the laws. That is the most important thing, especially when you're going to be dealing with a lot of folks who are not the same color as you. Now, once you get past that hurdle of them being actually willing to listen to you, then the next step is you want to be a resource for them. So what you want to be able to say to them is, what are your questions? How can I help you to better understand what our needs are? Because I guarantee you, 95% of the offices you walk into will never have heard of 280E. They do not understand that you've been debanked. They do not understand the difference between THC and CBD. These people are morons when it comes to cannabis policy. This is the truth. And it's not that they want to be complete idiots, but it is number priority 656 on their to-do list.
Right.
And don't be offended when you're talking to a 12-year-old, because that's who really runs Washington, 12-year-olds. So it is perfectly fine to talk to the staffer and get them to understand what your needs are. But you really have to go into advocacy and lobbying with a smile on your face and knowing that these people don't understand you, and all they really need to do is be educated. They want to hear that you're a veteran. They want to hear you're a patient. They want to understand how this has really impacted you. And those stories are what rings true.
Absolutely.
I took a client down there last year. some of you may know her. Eliza Brevard Rodriguez. She is a license holder in New Jersey. She was on the verge of bankruptcy, selling her house because she had been waiting 3 years to get a license. 3 years to go through the process in New Jersey. And I said to her, Cory Booker has nothing to do with this, but he's your senator, and we're going to go bitch at him. And we're going to get it on camera, and we're going to put it out there for everyone to see. And so she went down and saw Cory Booker, and we cornered him in the hallway. And she said, I'm a veteran. I've been waiting 3 years. I've done everything I'm supposed to do. All they got to do is check one more box. But because you didn't pass safe banking, I can't get a mortgage. I can't get small business loans. I'm going bankrupt because you wouldn't do anything for me. Within a couple days, she had her license. Now, I can't say that he actually did anything, but I guarantee you, her going down there and yelling at him didn't hurt. So
that's a great example.
If you have the opportunity to videotape these people, which you can do in the hallways, offices is a little trickier. Get them on the record. We had the whole M4MM crowd in there a couple years ago during lobby days. Again, cornered Cory Booker in a hearing. Hey, let's talk. Got his response. We put it all out there, put out press releases. That shit matters. I think the biggest place where we miss out in this industry on the advocacy side is publicizing it. We need to be putting out these arguments, helping people understand what's going on. We need to get the public on our side to say, yes, I use these products. Like right now in Texas, if you're following the hemp whole debacle down there, they went till 2 a.m. yesterday listening to witness testimony. They went all day and all night because hundreds and hundreds of regular people, business owners, patients, veterans all showed up for their 90 seconds to talk to their lawmakers and get on the record. I'm amazed that the Texas hemp industry showed up. Will it work? We'll see. Dan Patrick's a dick, but they are out there making sure that their voices are heard. And that's what you got to do. That's the main thing, is you got to show up.
I love that. Thank you, Gretchen, for adding on. I want to move the conversation because we are getting closer to time and we have a few other speakers that we want to highlight. But really quick, and I know we had a couple questions as well. By a show of hands, who's been to their state capitol yet, or who has been out at a lobby day in DC? Let me see. You can raise your hand on the, do you guys know how to use them?
That's what I do every day. So, you know.
Let's do like,
but not just on cannabis,
several
on
of us.
other policy
How about
too.
who has not been out there and involved themselves with like a Oh, Adrian, that's all right. Okay. Well,
and I want to say too, and I'll try to make this real brief. To Gretchen's point, showing up, talking is important. It has to also be a part of a concerted plan, because that initial interaction by itself will not move folks. It has to be consistent. There has to be a consistent follow-up strategy. So like when we did our lobby days as the M4MM lobbyists through Banks and Company, we had multiple meetings with different members of Congress. We had meetings as a follow-up afterwards, and then continuing meetings as we're trying to advance specific legislation.
And
I do that in my daily work. Right now for different, our company is the cannabis policy lobbyist for the city of Detroit. And in that, we have met with most of the members of the regulatory committee. We've actually written a bill for addressing disparities in penalties and violations that are negatively hurting minority and social equity licensees. And we're shopping it through the legislature. So you got to keep up with them.
And that's the beauty in relationship building and having super relationships at all levels, right? Not only, I know tonight's conversation is truly about cannabis advocacy and policy, but this goes across the board. You know, earlier I mentioned to drop your name in the chat, drop your LinkedIn, and start supporting each other. Adrian, I'm not sure if you were on at this time, but I shared that for 420. Make sure that by the end of the day tomorrow that you guys get your information on 420 events back out, because the purpose of our meetings and the intentions of our meetings at M4MM is to build these relationships, and that is going to build businesses as well. It's going to help catapult your business to the next level. We cannot go far if we go alone, but we can go far when we go together. And so we're gonna do a round robin now with some of the other advocates. I saw a couple of questions in the chat. We are not doing a lobby day again in May, Marissa, but we do have some resources. NCIA is hosting theirs in May. The Unity Action Week is April 28th through May 1st. So there's opportunities for us to that I'll be reviewing here in a little bit. There is an M4MM chapter, Bobby, and actually Marissa Stone is the director over there. So make sure you two get connected. Marissa, Bobby Burks Jr., Marissa, put your guys' information in the chat and get connected, please. Satin, did you have a question as well? Hey girl, thanks for getting all of that information on beautifully on our social media. All right.
No, I didn't have any questions. I was just,
okay.
It was still raised from earlier.
No worries. Well, right now I think it's so important. And again, thank you, Gretchen, and thank you, Eric, both for sharing the landscape as far as giving us a quick overview on the policy progress and meaningful connections in the policy landscape and creating those first steps. Actually, the next three speakers that we're going to hear from, they have just been so involved in creating a distance. I know Antoine Mordican, I introduced him earlier. He's the founder of Native Black Cultivation in Alabama, and he's also M4MM's Alabama State Director. He there was a picture that I posted out tonight of him and his son at the Alabama State building, and it's memories like that and opportunities like that that really help, again, build that credibility. He's a father. He's the first license holder in the state of Alabama, so many more. And he's always sharing about what's going on in advocacy. He's been fighting tooth and nail. So we definitely want to hear from you, Antoine, on what drew you into advocacy, and maybe share some advice or share a lesson from your experience at the state capitol or in DC.
Absolutely. So a pleasure to be here with you all, family. It's a pleasure to be able to speak with you. I should say Antoine Mordican, CEO of Native Black Cultivation, as well as the Alabama State Director for Minorities for Medical Marijuana here in Alabama. And I got activated in the advocacy space actually after becoming a member of M4MM. This was probably back in 2019. When I joined, and I was just kind of paying attention to what was going on in other states, and as the opportunities and the medical cannabis conversation started to happen here in Alabama, I just was in tune. I was just paying attention, just based on me being a part of M4MM. And when the opportunity came about for me to so I actually spoke in front of the Alabama Health Committee to support the law and program that we have now here in Alabama. And somebody came to me with that opportunity, thought that it would be something great for me to be able to add, because at this time I was a hemp farmer here in the state of Alabama. I've been growing hemp since 2020, so I had a relationship with the Department of Agriculture. I'm already tethered and involved in the cannabis space just outside of the state. So some folks wanted to hear from me, so I went in there and spoke about the bill, and we ultimately got the bill out of the committee into and ultimately got it to the governor's Kay Ivory's desk. And like Eric was saying earlier, it's very important that we understand what is in that language, what is in those bills. Because what I learned, man, I want to give a shout out to Eric, because he gave me a crash course on legislation when it came down to everything that was going on here in Alabama. So as I positioned myself and made sure I was intimate and heavily involved in that legislative process, and ultimately getting the bill signed. And once the rules and regulations, well, this is before the rules and regulations came out, I actually applied to serve on the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission. I submitted an application to Governor Kay Ivory. She felt like I wasn't worthy, which was cool. So my thoughts and the reason why I actually got involved, for one, I recognized how underrepresented we was in this space. When I went down to the to the State House to actually speak in front of the Health Committee, it was nobody minority anything in there to speak. Let me just say that. If I didn't get up in there and speak, only other black folks was in that room was those that work for the state. That's it. So when I got up there and spoke, I made sure that they stuck true to what was in that bill, which called for 25% of the license to be reserved for 51% minority owned and operated companies, which we figured that could get challenged. But look at the Lord, we here now. So as I submitted my application to serve on the commission, I wasn't selected. And at that point, once the rules and regulations came out, my thought on how I was going to position myself here in Alabama, and which was one of the questions Roz kept asking me once I joined, like, what is you want to do? What is it you want to do? Like kind of narrowing it down. And I really saw, once I kind of finally came to the conclusion, as an operator, I saw the power being in a farmer. And that was my background, farmer. I'm creating the raw commodity from where it takes. If I'm able to produce the raw commodity, I have a true stakeholder of the industry as it moves here in Alabama. And I strategically went for a cultivation license. So at that point of me not being appointed to the commission, I just took the position of being an owner. So I uniquely put together, did my application, everything here myself in the state. But ultimately, we went through all of that, the application process, getting denied our license twice, and finally getting awarded the third time. And what's important to go to your state house, and it's very important to go to your state house, go to any committee meeting, any commission meeting. The thing is, the word of advice I will leave for you all is to show up, be seen. You ain't even got to say nothing. Look at me. I'm locked up in the room. I stand right there in the corner. They gonna recognize me. And after probably like the 10th, 9th visit, maybe even after the second one, they gonna start questioning, who are you? They're gonna start asking questions, what you doing here? And then, folks, they count me out quick because I'm a young black man here in Alabama. But once I open my mouth, they're like, all right, this guy's a little something different, and I'm here about business. So when I come to them, I'm able to have certain level conversations and, making sure I'm developing, building those relationships. So in the midst of all of that, I've developed relationship with a lot of my legislators, a lot of my representatives, a lot of my senators, city councilmen, the whole nine, especially after now I finally got awarded my cultivation license. Everybody's my friend now. I grow I grow weed here in Alabama. But it's very important to stay involved and stay at the state capitol, and most importantly, keep showing up. And just stay in tune with what's going on in legislation. Pay attention to what bills are being introduced, because they done already tried to introduce bills here in Alabama that will completely switch up the medical cannabis program here. They actually actively trying to ban hemp here in the state of Alabama. So when certain things come up, and they'll try to do something in 24 hours. If it get read on the floor, they assign it to a committee tomorrow, they're gonna try to take a vote on it. If that happens, you gotta show up. So that's me. I don't want to take up too much time. I appreciate the opportunity to get here and speak in front of you all, share a little bit of the gems of what kind of went on here in Alabama. And if any questions, I'd love to answer any questions, or if not, I like to pass the torch to the next. I like to pass the mic.
Thank you, Antoine. I really love your story because it shows perseverance, it shows resilience, and it shows integrity, right? And we are one of the overlying pieces of information that we got tonight was build those relationships. And you don't have to say everything. So the smartest person in the room actually is silent. So you don't have to go in there loud. You go in there and build out your credibility. And Antoine, I love that about you. So I appreciate you for sharing your experience. And now I want to move on to Ashton, who has been leading efforts in Ohio with our state director, Brooke Gardner, who's also on the call. And she also is a support of the Black Buddha cannabis brand founded by Roz McCarthy. So something that I heard through the grapevine, really just heard through Roz, is that you shared, because you recently did the led efforts for the Ohio cannabis lobby days, which I heard went really well. And another piece that I heard was that people felt like, one of the pieces of feedback that you said was that people felt like they couldn't lobby or go into the state house. So I would really love for you to shed light on those pieces and your experience there, and share advice for someone who's approaching, lawmakers or even going into the House. Now, typically, before you start, typically we only have about an hour, so we'll continue to go on. If you can stay, please stay. I think that we still have some valuable information to review, and I have a few extra announcements towards the end. So, Ashton, take it away, girl.
Hey everybody, thank you so much, Jodeci. I thank you guys for having me on tonight. But yeah, so this was my first year hosting the Cannabis Lobby Day at Ohio, excuse me, in Ohio. It was a lot of fun. Um, it was a very large turnout, a turnout bigger than what I expected. But I did notice that there really weren't a whole lot of people of color there. That was one thing I noticed right off the bat. So there was a meeting held at by Candace Capitol by a lady named Marisha, and she's awesome. And while we were sitting there, she had talked to me like, there just aren't. She had told me there's a lot of people that don't feel comfortable going to the state house, just because of stigma that's still there, and maybe personal experiences. Like you just don't want to relive certain things. So there were just really a lot of people that didn't feel comfortable going. And one thing I learned, because I had kind of the same fear, was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to the state house. I'm hosting this lobby day. This is so huge. And one thing I really had to learn was that these are still people. Like at the end of the day, like, yes, they make laws. Yes, they hold a lot of power. But at the end of the day, they are still human. I kind of looked at lobby day like a football type of thing. I'm a huge football family. And I kind of look at a football game like, we are one team, they're another team. They need to win for their reasons. We need to win for our reasons. But at the end of the day, these people are still human. We might not agree with their views. We may agree with their views. They're still a person. So that's one bit of advice I would give to a person that may be a little nervous to talk to their legislators, maybe a little nervous to go into the state house. I'm a big fan of the buddy rule.
The buddy system.
Yes, the buddy system. Find a friend, be like, hey, let's go out to dinner or go to lunch and then go to the state house. Like, find a buddy that you feel comfortable going with and maybe hop on a tour. Um, there's a lot of things that go on at the state house, and there's a lot of things you can learn there. Stuff I didn't even know at our state house. And shout out to Tim Johnson that is on the call tonight. He is the one that offered me the opportunity to host this lobby day, and he got me started in all of this. He is a huge voice in our legislative process for the people. So a big thank you to him. Yeah, because it's big, and having a person that's already acclimated that's there is also a really cool thing to gain as well.
That's so special. Thank you, Tim. I saw you come on earlier, but it's
Yes.
so nice to meet you and have you. And thanks for bringing the Ohioans under your wing. So definitely appreciate you. And we'd love to stay connected and as an organization and help out in any way that we can. Thank you, Ashton, for leading the efforts and really just sharing your positive spirit at the state capitol, because like you, I was also nervous, especially coming into Georgia. It was a brand new state, and every time I turned around and asked somebody, hey, where's the regulators, hey, who's on the compliance board, it was like, we don't know. And I was like, what? So one day I just went in there and just was met with so many. Now Georgia's different, and we have a special guest coming up in a moment. Georgia's different because we got a lot of beautiful Black folk in the state house, okay? And they are fabulous, honey. I mean, fabulous. But with all that being said, it has been so empowering going into the state house. I was able to testify on a couple of bills, not specifically related to cannabis, but more so on the ag side. Got to shake hands with lawmakers, and like Ashton, you said, they are just like people. And I'll pin this back to Coach, where he always says, this is our state house. It's the people's building. So Coach, I welcome you up to the stage. Coach Harris is the founder of Georgia Hemp Association. He's a longtime advocate. He's also been a part of M4MM since our first inception in 2016, where we're hitting 9 years this year. And probably before that, him and Roz go way back. But he's also our Georgia State Director, and he's always coming up with these incredible ideas. Oh, let's do 404 Day. Oh, we got to do Juneteenth at the Capitol. Oh, Coach stays involved. And when it comes to social currency and building relationships, that is the man. If Coach knows everyone from football players to homeless people to lawmakers, and I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't know the president, or if he did know the president. So, well, with that being said, Coach, thank you for joining us tonight. Really appreciate you. Would love to hear some of your thoughts on, your experience in advocacy, and maybe some advice or sharing a lesson. Both, I know you've done incredible work, not only at the state capitol in Georgia, but you've been heavy out in DC as well as Eric Foster. So would love to hear from you.
Hey man, how y'all doing today?
Buzz, buzz.
All right, everybody, man. Hey, glad to see everybody on here. Hey, and I just want to concur. Well, I don't agree with Eric talking about the administration and what's going on, because I do believe that him with this tariff and us being able to come in the United States and talk about an infrastructure that has to be built within our United States to make sense now. I think this is the greatest time in history as far as what we're talking about hemp. But I do agree on some of the other things and topics that he was talking about. And I most definitely there is nobody better when you talk about policy and understanding policy and what to do with it than Eric, man. So I'm glad to be on the team with him. But this lobbying thing, I do believe it's a difference between an advocate and a lobbyist. You know what I'm saying? And advocating, we can make a difference, and we have to bring those numbers to the state capitol. When we start lobbying, now we understand the structure and, you know what I'm saying, exactly what's being ran down and how the game is going and how we have to align ourselves to either get policy change or to move it. But just understanding this industry and having a good team, like everybody active in their states and being that wheelhouse of information, I think we win on every level of this game when we talk about moving forward, because we're in the spokes of the history that's being wrote right now. And so for everybody that's involved with this industry, man, no matter what aspect you're in, how you put contributing, you are contributing to this overall industry of becoming better. And again, all money in the minute has to be backed by gold, silver, platinum, or a commodity. We are right now, it's the 5th largest commodity in the United States, and it's moving fast. So with that being said, you know what I'm saying, I want to say that everybody who come down to the Capitol are going to a particular state capitol, not just go there and shake them legislators' hands. Man, look, and when we did the 404 Day up at the Capitol, I had to say this, man, you had all these cats from Outcast, all these cats that the history of Atlanta in the state capitol. But some of them cats was like, man, I didn't even know you can come in this building like that. And I was like, oh my God, they don't know how to wind up, galvanizing their you know what I'm saying, their support, their activation keys. So, when we go to these events and just go into the Capitol, I say go in and holler at one of them legislators. They like Antoine said, they're regular people, right? But as you get to know these cats, anything you want to do in that state capitol, you can. If you want to have an event right there at them steps, at them Capitol steps, you can. All you gotta do is go to the building authority. And then all you gotta do is have a legislator, and all he wants is make sure his lunch is funded, and he'll throw the event for you because he's just trying to make noise. Everybody trying to do something. And your ideas, the creative ideas that everybody have, especially in this circle, man, you could bring some real creativity to that Capitol to help those administrators just bring that noise, but you got to bring the right information. And that's where Eric Foster comes in, because now you got their eyes, you know what I'm saying? You're talking to them, you're communicating to them, you know what I'm saying? You're going back and forth with them. Now you're giving them the plan, because that's what they don't have. They might be familiar with what's going on, but when you come with a fire plan that can align to what they're doing, and you didn't already study them and you know what they're doing, and you bring their plan to fruition, man, once you give it to them, they are so grateful that they got something that they can present, or that they could, you know what I'm saying, drop the legislation on, that they just want to be a part of that whole cycle. So, we don't know what they want to do until we actually go engage them. So once we engage them and go down there, like I said, everybody do a little something a little different. You know what I'm saying? And this is, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Everybody do something a little different, meaning that, you know what I'm saying? Like, my thing is I build relationships. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to the policy aspect of it, I go to Jodeci, and she got a whole nother team over there that they get down there, and they learning exactly what policies going on, what Senate bills going on, what House bills going on, and then they're bringing that, bringing that information. But that information, just because we're going down there and what Jodeci is saying, Georgia's a different beast. You know what I'm saying? We're dealing with a good old boy system down here, and we're dealing with people, the black people that are down here, all of them don't have power. But if you know who playing what, and you ain't stepping on nobody's toes, and you use the right wording to get this legislation dropped, and they have to have them key wording, let it be funding words or legislative words that they need to pass. You know what I'm saying? It got that built in that bill. And like I said, the right people to hand it to, man, we win-win every time, because we might not get what we want, but because they know it's enough people interested and involved with the process and advocating down there for it, man, they'd be like, I'd be stupid not to go against, something that's going to bring heat on my position of what I'm doing. So again, it's about us being active and activating with individuals who understand the game plan and how to activate us at the same time. And then everybody needs to go to DC, because I don't know everybody on this phone. You feel me?
Yeah,
When I'm talking about
absolutely.
social currency, man, look, we have to know who we are so we know who to trust when we're talking about putting faith or putting our social equity behind, or I'm gonna say social currency behind these people. When I know Eric, and I know Eric from a personal perspective of seeing how his heart works when a situation happened, and I see his reaction, so I know his heart. So I'm a roll with this brother just because he know what he's talking about. But then on top of that, his story or his narrative of how he look out for people. You know what I'm saying? And I will only be able to get that story if I was around him and building that social currency with him to know who the hell he is in order to wind up going to build. You know what I'm saying? When you say championship team, now I might not do a lot of stuff, but I know how to coach. And I usually coach my teams either make it to the championship or we win the championship. So when I'm saying, you get people together
Y'all are
and
these.
all y'all going to play golf, or we might be going to bowl, or you know what I'm saying? We might be going over Gretchen house to eat some shrimp. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's things that we're doing to build that capital within each other, so we can make sure that when this industry blow up, that we know everybody who put their sweat equity in here, who put the work in, and who need to be a part of this growth cycle that come in. And when it blow, it's gonna blow. I'm telling y'all, it's gonna blow.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank you,
So, we
Coach.
want to make sure we build those relationships. And all that to say, hey man, if y'all in Georgia, come mess with me. Thunder. You know what I'm
Coach
saying?
is
Y'all come
calling.
mess with me. And we're gonna make sure we grind at the Capitol, but we go to DC and we do the same thing. We just be consistent and we create that cadence so we stay on point with it. So again, I don't mean to be
Absolutely.
rambling on, but again, I
Thank you.
love all y'all, man. We just need to get together some more so we can build that social currency. If y'all feel me on that. And I'm gonna
Absolutely.
rest behind that.
One of the points that Coach you said was, building relationships, getting to know people. You shared that you built a personal relationship with Eric, and that brought to memory while we were in DC. It was my first lobbying experience, to be honest, lobbying with cannabis, to be honest. And it was really brand new. I'd never been to DC before, and we were in, I forgot whose office it was. I can remember the face, but not the name. And he said, hey, how is so and so? Did she already have her baby? And so it's building those relationships, Eric.
That was David Joyce's office, and that was Amanda, his chief of staff, who was out at
Yes.
the time.
And just having those natural flowing conversations that are authentic relationships, like don't force anything. Just be natural and be authentic. Look, guys, advocacy is a muscle, and the more we use it, the stronger we become as a movement. And again, we go further when we go together, not when we go alone. So we want to see you in these rooms with us. So earlier we had. Oh, yes, Eric.
Just one quick thing too. And one of the reasons why I said earlier this has to be consistent is because sometimes people get burned out with an expectation that one interaction, one election, that'll take care of it. No,
It doesn't.
this all takes time and consistency. So to build that relationship with David Joyce, Congressman Joyce in his office, I've had 13 meetings with them and multiple separate phone calls and communications over the past 3 years. That didn't happen from just one meeting. So if you're not consistent and then you get upset because you don't know, and you also have to understand the lay of the land, because depending on the state you're in, it's going to take a while, in part firing some people through elected office to get to the yeses that you need. But you have to do the work. You can't get frustrated because it didn't magically happen.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you, Eric. That was beautiful. And I think it just really put us in a good space when we are connecting. You know, just because we reach out once or shake their hands once, they're not going to remember us that way. They meet so many people. So you don't have to be the hero, just be the guide. With that being said, a couple of people had asked if M4MM is hosting a lobby day this year. In complete transparency, M4MM right now, we are building and building out capacity so we can start rehosting our own lobby days. However, so many of our brothers and sister organizations like NCIA, the Last Prisoner Project, MCBA, they are holding their lobby days or lobby week, and we encourage you all to go with them. So for NCIA lobby days, that's going to be May 13th through the 15th out in DC. For M4MM members, you can get 75% off to join them. And I won't say my comments on that, but you can use code. I put the code in the chat. Use code M4MM75. It's also in our newsletters. So make sure you are reading the newsletter. All of these things are in our newsletters. Unity Action Week, that is going to be with the Last Prisoner Project. They have several others that are involved with that. I mean, they've really made a big a coalition where you have the Drug Policy Alliance, the Normal, ICIA, Supernova, Beard Bros, so many others, the Marijuana Policy Project, SSDP. From the 28th, they'll do the National Cannabis Festival Policy Summit. Then the 29th, they're doing a welcome ceremony. The 30th is their lobby day. And then the 1st is the Cannabis Freedom Rally. So make sure that if you are interested, you can click one, read the newsletter and get the links from the newsletters. Or two, reach out to me and I'll get you connected with either of those teams. But we do hope that next year we are able to build enough capacity financially for our organization to host again another lobby day or the Congressional Black Caucus, because we used to do them a lot. It was hard this year. Somebody asked if they spoke on a live Instagram and we need a 4/20/26. Yeah, we definitely need one. Last but not least, a couple more announcements is that share your advocacy stories. Gretchen mentioned something that was really important, press releases. So if you are advocating, whether it be at your state, share it with me. Y'all, this is our newsletter. I'd love to put it in the newsletter and share what you guys are doing out there. It is super hard for me. And honestly, I don't have the bandwidth to go through every single person's LinkedIn and find what you're doing. If you're not sending it to me, it will not get into the newsletter. The newsletter deadlines are the 25th of each month. So please, by the 25th of each month, get me information, whether it's wins from what you did in that month before. So for example, for April, our newsletter went out April 1st. You should have sent me any information for your 420 events or your wins from March. And I still welcome that. So please, please, I put some information out in the chat on where my email is. By the end of the day tomorrow, send any 420 events and graphic. Adrian, I have yours. If you have a link, if you could send me the link, though. I don't remember if you sent me the link in the email, in a small 2 sentences about what your event is, so I can really include that. This is our time, or that is our space to shine. So remember to connect with us here at M4MM for any questions that you may have when it comes to advocacy. Connect with others on this call when it comes to advocacy and lobbying. Again, please read the newsletters. And if you are not subscribed there, once you click on the link that I've shared with you to the M4MM newsletter, you'll see in the top left-hand corner the subscribe button. Please subscribe there. And my last announcement is MJ BizCon speaker application. I dropped it in the chat again. The last day to apply is April 11th, and there's some really awesome opportunity. That's a really awesome opportunity for us. So please get involved. Please stay connected. If you need anything, I'm more than happy to include you. And oh, I remember, this is what it was. Deborah, are you still on the call? I know you said you'll be hosting the Hemp Beverage Expo in Atlanta. If there's any way we can collab and get some of our members into the Hemp Beverage Expo at a discounted rate, because I looked at the prices and my pockets aren't budging. So I would love to go and be there. If you can hook us up, we'd love that, Deborah.
Absolutely can. And I will be sure to follow up and let you all know more. I'm sorry for the dark setting here and everything, but
it gives a nice ambiance.
but we'll be in Atlanta, Georgia. And again, we caught a deep breath watching what the government was doing. And again, it was lobbyists and us small business owners who were getting there to talk to our government representatives that helped turn that tide and make a difference and at least stay it for another year. Hopefully give them more education so they understand the market and what's going on. So that is absolutely why I wanted to join this conversation, was to really, it really takes all of our voices out there having a conversation. And I love that. I just want to reaffirm the whole buddy thing. The first time I went to lobby was with MCBA. And I went with other people who had gone and lobbied before, and I got to listen to them give the pitch to, again, it was mostly it wasn't necessarily the representative itself. It was other people within the office, but they all require education and actually technically they're often the ones who are writing the policy for the representatives. So giving them as much education as we can give is so important to do, regardless of who you're meeting with. So yeah, I will follow up, Jodeci, and have a discount code, but Hemp Beverage Esco, we're not putting baby in the corner. We're allowing sampling on the floor so everyone can get their products out there. And we're going to take over a lounge, a bar for the evening and replace it all with hemp beverages and have a really super evening and really, fantastic highlight this iteration. So Atlanta is very excited to host us, and we're excited to be in Georgia.
That's in July, right, Deborah?
Yes, correct. The don't hold me to it. The 9th, 10th, and 11th. It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yes, awesome. I did put that in our April 1st newsletter because I saw it and I was like, oh, we definitely got to be there. So I appreciate you welcoming the idea of having us a discount code for our members. I think it's so valuable. And a lot of us are, entrepreneurs or, just really trying to grow our brand. I know Mecca is the owner of Cash Color Cannabis. Sorry to call you out, Mecca, but he has a wonderful podcast and a magazine that's super inclusive and just different than your typical magazine. So I just would love to see people like him there, myself there. We have Martez in the house with Baked Bot AI, with Smokey, the AI bud tender. So, and his program can really help a lot of these hemp companies just excel to the next level. So, it has been a wonderful evening with you all. And I can't thank you enough for showing up and showing out and sharing your experiences. Stay encouraged. And if there's anything that I can absolutely do, please buzz on me. Swarm in the hive.
Thank you so much for having us, Jodeci.
Yes. Remember, every second Tuesday of the month, we'll meet at 7. Invite your friends. You're free to go
Make
or
sure everybody
stay.
come.
Bye,
Thanks again.
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye,
Have a
everybody.
good
Thank
one.
you,
Bye, everybody.
Jodeci.
Thank you. Let's stop the recording.